the patch does not suit that style.
Well, we are into champion select here for game number 1 of the International Wildcard Qualifier. It is going to be Kaos Latin Gamers on our blue side, as INTZ from Brazil are going to be taking the red. Already barred to be banned away, and there's the Zyra ban coming in here from INTZ. They've done their homework.
They certainly have. I mean, we mentioned that there are a couple of pocket Zyra players running around.
This is the interesting thing. It was actually...
It's
okay,
not,
there's
there
the Talia. I was very, very perplexed because, in fact, INTZ are the team that plays Zyra. So, would be odd. It is going to be Nidalee locked in here. First pick. We'll update you on those bans as they come through. But, of course, both of these teams actually with Nidalee players in the jungle. That one being taken away from Revolta definitely being a big deal. Because as soon as you give him the ability to smash you across the map, it is a bad idea.
As the bans do come in, it's going to be Rek'Sai rounding out Kaos Latin Gamers. It is Zyra, Talia, as well as Karma. So the Zyra was
there it is.
Obviously, if they're willing to have that high priority on it, they also believe it is a good pick here for INTZ. So they're willing to take it off the board. I mean, I really do think the Karma is the important band here, though. Get Plugo on something that he's not really all that comfortable with. Isolate that Tokka's lane. See whether he can put in some work.
Yeah, of course, does have the Vladimir available potentially, if you would like to go towards it. But Jhin is available. Mikau wanting to pick that one away, and it is going to be Na and Jhin taken away here for the Brazilians.
All right, that's a potent first 2 picks. I mean, Jhin at the moment, whilst he doesn't have great turret pushing ability, his siege and ability to force people off turrets really is second to none. He also has fantastic trading windows. And for me, Na and Gangplank are really the 2 top laners that are huge at the moment.
Yeah.
And Na absolutely smashes Gangplank. I mean, it's not even a contest anymore. Na really is just able to solo kill that lane over and over again. So Yang's always been a very good Na player going back to last year's IWCI. And we'll see whether he's able to continue any of that form because, as I said, historically has been there for the champion.
Yeah, Element as well played purely Gangplank Echo in the final at the same time. So definitely wanting to make sure that he's going to be at least feeling uncomfortable picking up that GP, as the Echo is going to be the option. And Ashe picked up there as well, so double utility AD carries coming out for both of these teams.
And Echo doesn't do horribly in the matchup, but the thing is that you have to stay really even to be able to itemize your Trinity Force. If not, you have to go into tank, and then you get that difficult late game decision of, Iceborne Gauntlet versus Trinity Force on Echo.
Yeah.
I mean, internationally speaking, every region except for the LPL seems to favor Trinity Force. LPL still sticks to the Iceborne Gauntlet quite a fair bit.
Yep.
Just because they run solo tanks a lot. So we'll see, given the fact that this is probably a solo tank lineup out of KMV, whether they do go towards what would most likely be something close to a full tank Echo.
Yeah. Bear, of course, does have the opportunity to head on something like a Braum if he'd like to. Tahm Kench being looked at now by INTZ, but another tanky option. So
I think we can dispel the fact that, INTZ might not be ready for the patch.
Yep.
This is a very good 6.16 pick ban phase that's come out. I mean, Tahm Kench pretty much ruins Ashe's day. All of a sudden, you only need 1 QSS, and it's on the Tahm Kench, of all things. And then he just eats whoever else gets arrows and runs away with them.
Yeah.
So, all of a sudden, very safe lane for Mikau. If they do go with a range support, something like a Nami or a Soraka here, there is the potential to bully the lane a little bit and take advantage of the Tahm Kench. Or you can go the opposite and go brutally melee, something like a Trundle, and, really fight the Tahm Kench early. But for right now, I would say that INTZ running away with this champion select, actually.
Yeah, and Kaos Latin Gamers do favor the Trundle just a little bit. We'll see whether that is going to be the thought, but Braum available as well. May as well bring a door towards the bottom side of the map. Is now Vladimir being considered. Did mention this earlier on, Plugo. Most certainly comfortable on the champion, as most people are.
He hasn't got the highest skill cap.
No. You're just basically a blood blob in the mid lane doing ridiculous things.
I don't know what that means, but yeah, let's move on.
You know when you press your W button?
Yep.
Yeah, it just looks like a blood blob to me.
Okay.
Yep, there we are. But it is going to be the counter pick opportunity here for Tokka's, and this is the guy that we had questions for. Of course, considering his champion pool, of course, the answers are most certainly going to be there. I trust in you, Tokka's, but we'll see what he is going to be able to bring out, as Varus is being considered.
Yeah, Varus would be different. I mean, it waves clear as well. I'm not expecting to see it. That historically, Victor has been quite a good matchup. You're able to shove out the wave nice and early.
Other things would be Cassiopeia or something comes to mind as being an option.
Yeah, Mal's, you can shove him in. There is kill threat there, of course. Is a little bit nerfed on this patch, Malzahar.
Yeah.
So, you know, hasn't been seeing the strongest play, but always is going to be able to pump out a lot of consistent damage. And I guess when you do have that Jhin as your AD carry, that's really what you're looking for. A lot of catch potential, a lot of consistent damage coming out of your AD carry and mid laner.
I also really like the Malzahar picked into the Ashe as well. I mean, I know that the shield has been nerfed just a little bit, isn't going to be able to come off cooldown as quickly at later levels and only lasts for 0.25 of a second, but if he's just wandering around, you know, he's not going to get picked off by a stray arrow flying up the mid lane or something like that.
Yeah, that is true. I mean, if he's able to dodge the damage of Vladimir consistently, he won't be able to be picked off, but Vladimir has got the ability. Press escape to exit full screen. Vladimir has got the ability to be able to, you know, continue to whittle down that shield, so we'll see how it does go.
As we are having a look at Julio Cito, the jungle versus mid lane matchup here as Tokka's on your screen towards the right. We'll see whether the Malzahar is going to work and is currently not quite as strong state. We still have seen a fair bit of play of the champion, though.
Yeah, we have. And as I said, like, the Baron control is still there. The flexible item build, you know, Morello's into Rylai's, into whatever the heck you want is still a very potent item build. So I certainly think he's still a good champion. It's just whether he does see the level of play that he's seen in the past.
Yeah, and of course, you know, still offers that amazing single target lockdown that you can provide. I do like their pick potential actually coming out of
that's what it's really
roster.
all about. It's great late game team fight, but during the mid game, they're just going to be looking to secure vision in the jungle, get those picks, push down structures, and they do also have fantastic Baron control. Go back to it, you know, the fact that great consistent damage, Malzahar in there, as well as the secure that can come out of Gragas. I mean, INTZ, if they get a lead, should not struggle to close this one out.
Well, we'll see whether they can get that lead. Looking over the other side of the rift, Kaos Latin Gamers, they do also have some pick opportunities of their own with that enchanted crystal arrow. Remember, Ashe did take a little bit of a nerf. Her Q doesn't last for quite as long, and her arrow doesn't do quite as much damage.
Is that this patch? I thought that was 1.7.
Oh, it's 1.7. Oh, that's why you never read patch notes past the patch that you cast in Spawn.
I know, because that's how I know that it's not in there, because I haven't read the patch notes yet. That's my rule. So
I got curious. I never make that mistake normally, and see what happens. Immediately burnt for it.
So Ashe is all right at the moment. I do think that the pick potential is there. The 2v2 lane is very strong. I mean, great distance and being able to shove that one in. So might be able to put Jhin under a little bit of early game pressure. Yeah,
and we'll see whether the Nidalee is going to work out coming out of the jungle as well as we hop onto the Rift for our very first IWCQ matchup as KMV are going to see whether they can do it against the home team in INTZ. So we are going to have a look at the Keystone Masteries. A couple of Deathfire touches on the side of INTZ, but otherwise, nothing really looking like it's out of place. And I say otherwise, I mean, that's pretty standard for both of those champions as well.
Yeah, it certainly is. I mean, Storm Raiders is unique on Vladimir.
Oh, that's the one I like the most. That's why I sort of glossed over it.
Really?
Yeah.
Yeah, no, I'm not a fan of Storm Raiders.
It means you can go 45% CDR, which is cool.
Yeah. All right, cool. So moving on. Let the color caster do that bit. 45% CDR, whilst cool, quite useless on Vladimir. I mean, early game strength really does help with what can be a punishable laning phase. So we'll see whether it works out for him and if running quick really is the best idea.
Thank you very much. I actually was hoping that you'd catch me up on that because I don't often make the right decisions when it comes to Keystone Masteries. Pick the ones that feel cool. That's Julio Cito. He's going to be spotted by that ward, but you can see not too much of a change in start. As it is going to be Macau and Joxter just going to take themselves a Gromp. Yeah, I'm going to help Revolta out on the top side for INTZ, whereas Bear and Fox just hanging out on their Krog. So everything all quiet on Summoner's Rift for level 1.
Yeah, it is going to be a rather quick jungle out of Julio Cito. We'll see whether if he tries to invade Revolta. I was going to say the level 1 should be much quicker out of INTZ's bottom lane. It is. Devour, so potent on Tahm Kench. See whether they go for the cheeky trade as well. I mean, there is a potential that you just walk up, start auto-attacking, and the layering of CC is enough that Joxter will be able to swallow the Braum if it gets to that point, but not deciding to go for it.
No, not just yet. And as far as the early game plan for both of these teams, I'm looking at Agragas and thinking gank potential possibly, as Macau actually taking a fair bit of damage from the Fox. But not going to get stunned.
Yeah, you also didn't want to walk through the creep wave just because, as I said, the Devour is there already from Tahm Kench, can save the 80 carry from that stun. So Braum isn't necessarily a great matchup into Tahm Kench, although that is what they did go for. As far as early game, you already mentioned it. I mean, Revolta can definitely gank quite heavily. See whether he goes into a heavy farming path or whether he does decide to try and put some early pressure out. Julio Stito, he's going to look to get his red buff and then just wreak havoc. I mean, while you don't have red on Italy, you're generally looking to just farm up as quickly as possible. She farms at the speed of light still. When you do have it, you can really put down some great range to harass. This is the first invade of the game that we're seeing.
Yeah, already getting in amongst the jungle
like
here.
Ships in the night, Atlas.
Precisely. As that Rift Scuttler is going to get started off. Backping's actually coming down here as Julio Cito, I think, aware of the fact that there's a ward. But Revolta, completely unbeknownst to him, as far as this action, as Julio Cito's found Taka's Flash and Ghost used by the mid laner.
Yeah, it certainly is, and no pounce came out of Julio Cito. I think that might have been a little bit of a mistake. Could have led with that, then flashed after the Malzahar to secure that first blood, but they get double summoner spell because of some great early game pathing. Really like the activeness out of KMV's jungle.
Yeah, and of course Revolta thought that he probably had the bottom side of the map pretty scoped out. But Julio Cito did manage to make it there in time and did get some vision down at the same time as well. So we'll be able to spot where that Gragas is moving around in his bottom side jungle.
I think they also just got an eye of him on the top side, so that is going to be, a lot of pressure relief. Tracking the jungler is incredibly important on the current patch, as I said. The fact that you can push down turrets so potently after just one gank and pick up that gold is really devastating in the early game. However, mid lane not necessarily going in the direction we thought it would. Malzahar was the counter pick elected here, but bottom lane heavily in favor of INTZ.
Yeah, Macau just able to get that shove in over and over again. And we talk about Ash Braum a lot of the time, and I mean, this is a strong lane. So huge props over to INTZ. There's a body slam on a Plugo, but yeah, he can turn into a puddle. Yeah,
no, they're not actually even trying to gank him. They're trying to shove out the wave and get the Malzahar a shop. The danger is if you sit around and show for that long, you are going to get flashed on.
Yeah, that's the flash out of Plugo as he's looking for the Crimson Rush. Won't have it in time as he tanks up 2 turret shots. Okay,
second time, I actually think the Nidalee could have got an execute in there. I mean, body slam had already been used. Flash is available.
Doesn't use it. The pounce was used prior. Revolta actually getting pressured off this turret now. Red buff going.
Yeah, as I said, red buff in Italy, quite obnoxious in the early game. You can see a little bit of dirty farming going through from Julio Cito. I'm sure Plugo is saying, can you please just let me farm my wave? I am dominating this lane already, up nearly 20 CS. Thank you very much, if you do not mind.
Well, a really nice hawk shot actually came down there from the Fox just to discover where Jockster had headed off to. The Master Chef going to make his way back down towards the bottom side of the map.
And all of a sudden, it's starting to bleed over. I mean, we saw a 10 CS advantage for Macau and Jockster. That's going to be about 6. But the fact that, Jockster had to go for a little bit of a roam, look to help out mid lane because of this huge CS discrepancy is kind of telling of how much pressure Tokas thinks he is under at the moment.
Yeah. Also taking up a lot of Revolta's time at the same time here as Yang not able to utilize his jungler to try and get ahead here towards the top side of the map. Is still, a couple of farm in the lead, but nothing to really write home about.
And it's interesting because normally as Nah, you try and shove in as hard as possible, burn the teleport, because otherwise Echo is incredibly frustrating to lane against because you lose all kill threat. He can just ult back to lane over and over again without having to lose teleport advantage. But you can see level 6 is gained out of Element. So the lane becomes easier from here for the Echo player. Nah can't really catch him, Mega Nah follow him. So the all-in potential really isn't all that potent. We'll see whether, Element's just able to continue to survive, continue to farm up. Because this right now is looking fantastic for KMV.
Yeah. Just chilling out at the moment as the spear is going to land onto Revolta. They do have a lot of late game scaling on this KMV roster. They must be very happy with how this one's going. Just get the Vladimir to the late game.
Yeah, it certainly is a potential. I mean, no one's going to argue with Malzahar's late game either. It does do a lot of
Jin's
damage.
pretty strong at the same
Jin's
time.
great towards the latter stages. I mean, I'm going to give the advantage to the Gragas in the jungle matchup even. So there is some scaling on INTZ. Don't get that confused. But for what we thought was going to be a pretty potent early game out of Revolta, has been quite back and forward so far. As now everyone heading down.
Yeah, the Ghost actually popped from Tockers as well as
Teleport
Revolta gets
coming in.
his
This is
way
5
behind.
members.
Yeah, exactly right. Element is going to be able to get in here. Good Winter's Bite. They're looking for a disengage as in comes Meganar. Yang wanting to get the jump as Bear throws up the door. The Fox getting some damage down now as Jockster goes low. There's the Gnar into the wall. Fox is the one with the focus as Element. Oh, he flashes out of the way. First blood goes over to Bear and it's all going wrong for INTZ. They trade as what the heck was that Element? He would actually make the trade, and in the end, it's won by INTZ, and they should be able to get first turret blood unless this mid lane falls down.
So they will be able to pick it up. In the end, Element flashing to trade was the right call because the dive was going to continue. So going 2 for 3, first blood secured as well as a turret trade, and even more mid lane priority because realistically, Tokka's got nothing from that. Is absolutely massive for KMV. And meanwhile, I mean, all of Revolta's jungle's just been taken from him. He picks up his blue buff, but he lost his red. He lost complete control over the top side. So KMV really coming out swinging.
Yeah, I like it. As they don't necessarily have the gold lead, but you're right, opening up the map in the mid lane is a huge deal, and we'll see whether that's where they can keep pressure.
Especially because Malzahar is a pushing champion. As we have another look at this, I mean, Teleport came out. And, you know, it was just the ability to prioritize targets incredibly well. Element gets a stun because he prepped it. Prepped. A lot of damage came out. And then, you know, even though it was a huge Gnar, Bear goes massive here, takes out Tokkas. And then they just leave Mikau by himself, and he's not really able to get the damage out.
This Fox is caught out by Mikau's ultimate. Curtain Call, able to spell the death.
But it took so long, Atlas. Like, the thing is, being able to only have 4 bullets as Jin, committing to a turret dive where you're tanking the turret, it gets nerve-wracking. And you can see Mikau, in the end, ducked out, just popped the ultimate, and he did ultimately pick it up with the 3rd bullet, but definitely not what they were looking for. Would have liked a much cleaner execute on that dive, because it was a 5v3.
Yeah. Revolta now looking towards the top side of the map. Element does have his ultimate. And Julio Stito is in the area. As Yang gets the bounce onto Element. Good hyperproc there as well as phase dive. Not going to be able to close too much distance. Revolta doesn't find the ultimate, looking to predict, but it doesn't matter as Yang's able to grab that kill pretty easily.
Yeah, it certainly was. So this is a potent out of Nai. You can see that he goes towards a pretty heavy damage item build. It's going to be the Frozen Mallet first. As you can see, Plugo and Tokka's just jockeying for position in this mid lane. Mikau does rotate over.
Yeah, Mikau actually going to join them here. It's KMV with a pretty fantastic start. INTZ still in the lead. Able to play cool, calm, and collected. Everything's just fine for the moment.
Whoa. Leo Stito nearly solos out in the bottom lane.
Yep, Bear dies. There's an arrow that hits the mid lane as the curtain call comes down. Plugo has to use his pull and has to flash out of the way as well. Transfuse goes down, and INTZ have just honestly taken this game in their control out of nowhere.
Yeah, scruff of the neck. I mean, it was the fact that Gnar got massive, and now we're seeing the siege potential because they've knocked down bottom lane. So they rotate into the mid side, able to get a lot of pressure down, pick up another kill. However, that is quite inexcusable, getting caught out underneath your own turret.
Yeah.
Would love to see a replay of exactly what Bear did. Fall to his demise, but...
Bear probably wouldn't.
Well, he's not watching the stream, Atlas. The good people at home are.
All right.
They want to know what happened. There are questions that remain unanswered.
Questions that need answering. It's Tokka's just able to clear things out. Still so far behind, however. The INTZ mid laner probably just going to be used as a Nethergrass bot for at least this portion of the game. Almost has that Morellonomicon done as he goes back, grabs himself the Fiendish Codex. And Yang already has his Frozen Mallet done as well.
Yeah, Yang's a monster, an element to go towards Triforce. I mean, we did say he picked up one of those kills, grabbed an assist. He was looking good, but Yang having 2 of the kills and then pretty much getting a solo rapidly accelerates that. So, you know, the Gnar, he's going to be sitting pretty. Jockster hasn't really been used to, you know, move the AD carry around the map at a fast pace. Generally, if you do see the time catch picked up, you'll see an early rotation into the top side.
Yeah, and you can also, push down that turret, use the Abyssal Voyage to cut off the top laner at the same time. Know what you mean?
Pick up about a 6-second rotational advantage if you do use the Abyssal Voyage. I mean, League of Legends is a game of seconds right now. Zhang going aggressive, but not overcommitting. Absolutely bullying at the moment.
Yeah, and what was a 1 versus 2, to be perfectly honest, at that stage, even though he didn't know it.
Well, he was about to go Mega, so that was never going to be a commit that the Nidalee was willing to go for, because she just would have got one shot. So you understand why Julio Cito not really willing to jump into Yang at the moment?
Yep. Of course, Cloud Drake is going to be the first dragon here, so 13 minutes into the game. Hasn't been looked at or touched, because people just don't seem to want to walk fast outside of combat.
It's just that structures are so much more valuable at the moment than, pretty much all the Drakes. You can still make the argument for Infernal. Is now Macau in big trouble.
Yeah, he's getting ghosted on here as Hemoplate goes down. And
message received. Don't walk into my mid lane, Macau, says Plugo.
And then says, I've got farm to get to, but you just remember that. As he walked into the brush.
But this is what it's all about. I mean, all of a sudden, INTZ controlling the jungle. Revolta takes a couple of spears, but there is that deep vision. They've got the Malzahar into a side wave. He can farm quite safely against an Ashe. Really, it's up to Julio Cito making anything happen around the map right now, because the gold lead is starting to grow. I mean, it's only 2,000. It's definitely not the start of the game that INTZ would have wanted, but it is a gold lead nonetheless.
Yeah. On the other hand, I mean, I do like the fact that Kaos Latin Gamers have been able to at least slow things down, get it back to normalcy, because it did look like it was starting to go completely into INTZ's favor. This fast-paced game has been working out for them, but Julio Cito now able...
Revolta is a spear magnet.
He is.
I mean, I know Gragas is a fat man, but he is actually quite mobile. So, face tanking a lot of spears. I mean, to his credit, Revolta has kept up in farm so incredibly well against... Ooh, arrow.
Wow. Yeah, going to connect onto Macau here at the same time as the spear's going to land. Big ult comes down as Julio Cito wants to find the reset. The heal comes out as Revolta's body blocking. That's a good time to catch a spear as now he gets slowed down, but Body Slam gets him out.
Ooh, another body block. Revolta on fire there.
That's ridiculous. See? He's a fat man, and he's utilizing it to his advantage.
Certainly is, but they lose control over the Dragon area. We'll say that was a pretty opportunistic play out of KMV. They would be dreading the fact that they didn't pick up a kill, but a Dragon for it, as well as no lost tempo, is going to be a great thing. Didn't have to burn Elements teleport. Avoiding Yang's Gnar for the meanwhile.
Yep.
Pretty much everything about that play was fantastic.
Well, congratulations. Unable to get a kill, but did manage to get a little bit more movement speed. Jockstar just getting some deep vision by the looks of things. Unless he wants to try and get a gank down onto Element, will know that Julio Cito is in the area.
Everyone rotating up there, however. I mean, this is pretty telegraphed. Tockers is now in the jungle as well. They're standing on top of a ward. However, looking for Nidalee.
Yeah, and he is going to get caught out. Oh no, Silence not going to land as the pounce was there, but the Ghost is going to catch him up. There's the stun to come out of the Jhin, and it's easily locked down as Julio Cito is going to melt.
Yeah, and just look at the peak potential that came out. I mean, long-range stun out of Macau, following up all of Tokka's CC. They will be able to... Ooh, not fair.
There it is. Okay, so making up for his death towards the bottom side of the map that we didn't see, steals away the blue buff.
Yeah, certainly did. Secures that for his team. Gets it, more importantly, away from Tokka's, who needs it to be able to freely push out. Let's have another look at this failed gank. I mean, great ultimate over the wall from Revolta. Stops all three members.
Revolta.
Then Julio Cito flashes forward. Heal comes out. Revolta flashes back and forward in front of his AD carry. One body block. Body blocks the door. Gets a double slow and then body blocks a second spear. I mean, pretty much everything played perfect out of Revolta there. That's why they brought him back into the lineup. Really is the star player of this INTZ lineup.
Yeah, just incredible. In fact, every movement that he made was perfect. I have a feeling Macau would have died if he hadn't done any of the things that he did. Now you can see Julio Cito now towards the bottom side of the map, looking to try and grab some pressure, but Revolta is here once again.
Going towards Rylai's Crystal Scepter, I mean, it's an age-old debate. I'm pretty famously a big fan of Rylai's Crystal Scepter on Italy. However, you know, with the changes that did come out of the likes of Rod of Ages, you know, also we've seen some weird dash cannon builds for Nidalee
I love dash cannon Nidalee.
Also just the fact that you can go towards cooldown reduction quite effectively on Nidalee.
Things like Abyssal Scepter could be good.
Yeah, Abyssal Scepter into Sheen item. I mean, there's lots of things that people are picking up. You can see that Element's being punished pretty hard in the top lane now. But it's just not as black and white as it was at MSI Atlas, is what I'm trying to say.
Ah, yes. Well, Revolta is going to be able to steal that one away. Tongue Lash is going to get doored by Bear as Plugo now looking to hold on to this mid lane. Spears still coming through thick and fast. They should be able to defend this relatively easily, but INTZ just claiming ownership over this jungle.
And that's what they want to do, you know, guarantee the bottom wave can't be farmed because they knock down that turret. They're trying to isolate that quadrant of the map. Then they'll look to siege in, you know, use a Gragas barrel to knock people out from underneath the turret. I mean, Braum is going to be great late game against the Gragas. Guess it's fair to point that out. But as of right now, it looks like just... We have these in Oceania all the time. We call them the Great Os ARAM. But just a little bit of, you know, head ramming coming in, honestly. They're just trying to get down that turret.
Bit of a stalemate. Somewhat. Still a 2,000 gold lead. Not much of a swing at all since the early kills that came in for INTZ. Good spear. Scuttlecrab, of course, the most difficult to hit unit on the map.
Yeah, a little bit caught out. Gets chunked. Yep, no Scuttlecrabs. They duke like you would not believe. This is really surprising, honestly, out of INTZ. I feel like they have a great opportunity, you know, repetitively dive top lane Element. He's not tanky at all at this stage. But really, they are just holding it down in the mid lane. Finally, the rotation is coming out. But once again, it's 5 members strong.
Actually looking at the Rift Herald here as Yang will be able to solo push this top outer turret. Claim themselves a 3,000 gold lead.
That's a pretty big luxury to just be able to rely on Yang to solo win a lane after getting a good teleport play in the bottom lane. I mean, he had one gank the entire time where Revolta whiffed the keg. So it's not like he was camped for. And 302 solo pushing down the turret, 10 CS advantage over the Echo, who is a pretty good laner at this stage. Nice to see Yang still playing very good League of Legends.
Oh, yeah. We'll be able to get a big shove, and we'll see whether it's going to be about the Gnar, whether he can actually start up these fights for INTZ.
Well, now they really have opened up the map. You can see their deep vision line coming in, especially towards the top side of the map. Now they can really isolate that mid lane, and Plugo has to walk into the wave to wave clear, is the most important thing to note there. You can see now KMV trying to get a rotation into the bottom lane, but being matched quite quickly from INTZ. Turret will fall.
Yep, outer turret in the mid lane looking to be the answer here for INTZ if they can make it. But this one's going to fall down much faster. The wave not quite there yet. And Element does have his Time Winder. Can actually clear out that minion wave as it's only Macau that's in there to try and push.
And you'd have to say one more time that, you know, INTZ, they come up with a great play. They knock down Rift Herald. Guarantee that for Yang. It's going to be a very long Rift Herald, about 38-ish minutes.
Yep.
Until that expires. And they grab top lane turret. But in saying that, good rotation into the bottom side of the map, gives them control over that lane, pushes it out, denies a lot of the vision. So KMV definitely putting up a very good fight.
Yeah, seem to have the answers. Plugo, he's got 30% CDRs. There's the arrow that lands onto Revolta. He's going to be stunned forever as Element's able to pick up the kill. Can they find more, though, as Deadly Flourish stuns up Plugo? There's flashes coming out of everyone as Element is going to be able to catch up to the Tahm Kench. Oh my goodness. What the heck was that? Plugo gets the exhaust out, trades it for a flash. I like it.
Yes, certainly does. All of a sudden, they do have potential to siege down this mid lane. Would have liked them to hold on to some ultimates because Yang now does have a flank, and in comes Talkers.
Yeah, it does still have the Nether Grasp as Element turns up as well. Curtain calls in here. Big flank as Julio Cito is going to get caught out by the ult. He's going to take a lot of damage, but doesn't fall down. Good primal surges now. Yang is getting converged on, but picks up one of the kills. Gets another one there for Talkers as Element's running as fast as he can. Ults himself back into INTZ. It's not really where he wants to be, but at the moment, is able to get out. Wrong side of the map. We'll see whether he can actually survive. Cue the Benny Hill music, I think is what this one calls for. Parallel convergence, dodge, takes a turret shot and dies.
So in the end, it is going to be a massive team fight win for INTZ. That's why we were asking, don't burn the ultimates. I mean, all of a sudden, Plugo burnt double summoner spell ultimate for absolutely nothing on that turret dive. Doesn't end up dying, but I mean, he could have created a lot more pressure as that re-engage was coming out of INTZ because it was a 4v5. It's just that Yang is massive.
Yeah. And it felt like Yang was getting converged on, but
yeah,
he was sort of one
confident.
versus 5, pretty happy to do it.
Yeah, so great nethergraphs, locked down Julio Cito underneath the turret. So, you know, that was the first big mishap, gives us a gold lead, but this is what it was. I mean, Yang corrals him, Julio Cito gets locked up, and all he's doing is sitting there throwing boomerangs. I mean, finally he does get the last hit here onto Bear, guarantees that the Malzahar are going to be able to pick up the next one. Then he just chases down and corrals elements and zones away the rest of the team. That was not even flashy play out of Yang, just very, very good conscious League of Legends.
Yeah, and the thing that I was impressed about was the fact that, you know, this is a mini Gnar performance at the same time. I mean, often you expect that Gnar bar to be in the right spot, otherwise he doesn't do necessarily as much, but you're exactly right. Corralled was the word. Worked out very, very well.
And you know, he has got the mini Gnar build. He's got the Frozen Mallet, he's got the Black Cleaver,
wow, yeah.
so he's gone with it. Definitely is the potent mini Gnar build. You don't want to fight that guy in a 1v1 situation.
You don't anyway. He's 4-0-3. I feel like it could be almost any champion at the moment. Actually, that's probably not true. If it was Soraka, 1v1.
You would 1v1 a Soraka?
Yeah, I reckon. I'd probably try. Might be embarrassing.
I was about to say, I'll take the Gnar and just gracefully power out and defeat. Last thing you want is that Frozen Mallet, Black Cleaver Soraka taking you out. Then you can't show your face internationally ever again.
No, I wouldn't be able to. Those devastating, armor-penetrating bananas. This Tockers is going to be able to defend this top lane outer turret. Almost done, but not going to fall on this wave.
He's done a good job of, you know, mitigating a lot of the damage that was done early game as well, Tockers. He was 30 CS down when he only had 30 CS, so the fact that it's remained that gap, that he's 3-1-4 now, really is laying down the hurt for his lineup. Good thing. You have to say that, you know, it was a shaky start. They gave away a lot of mid lane priority. Arrow comes out again.
Yeah, and Jockster's going to eat his jungler. Element closes the gap, though. Can they find any more? As there's the W once again. Element uses his ult, but straight back into the middle of it. The ultimate has come down as Plugo dash cannons towards the Gnar. Tockers, oh my goodness. Caught on the flank. There's now Revolta looking for more. It's a 1-for-1 trade at the moment, but Yang's found the Fox in the backline. And Ashe versus Mega Gnar, yeah, I doubt that's going to go well, as Yang is unstoppable now. And Julio Cito, where is he going to go? There's the flash double body slam, as it's the Nidalee that he wants. Knocks her back in, pounces out though, and he's going to be okay. Plugo with the flash, and will tank up the Baron hit. Crimson Rush will get a lot of his health back. Yang now finds his way through. The Abyssal Voyage is going to spell the death of the Vampire, and now INTZ goes straight towards the Baron.
Yeah, what a fight out of INTZ. I mean, they pick up Tockers, but they overcommit one more time to the left to summon the Drift. Leave the Fox out to dry, who is so much of their damage in these big team fights. Julio Cito, he's trying to rear his head in there. Ooh, that was nearly a kill onto Jockster.
Revolta, of course, always takes the spear, though, so it doesn't matter who's in front.
And they have stopped the Baron, however, it looks like.
Yeah, Revolta actually taking a lot of damage. The arrow sails by majestically. Bear's going to turn up. Throws out the Winter's Bite.
Element got the TP.
Yeah, there's the
flank. No one else is with him, though.
Wow, stun comes in as Timeline is going to slow everyone down. Good dodge of the body slam, but he's dead. And that's a dominating Gnar towards the top side.
I'm going to say that's a lapse in concentration from KMV, because the call obviously that was there from Element that, you know, I have the deep flank. I'm going to be able to, you know, make this play.
Ashe is on walkabout. Just wanders past Jockster.
Yeah, there was a Malzahar waiting in the brush.
Uh-huh.
There is no way you take that play. I mean, as much as you love a cheeky solo kill onto a support.
No, I was just wondering why the Fox was even there. Not saying go in. Just thinking, like, it's a bit dangerous. Julio Cito is now going to get stunned up. There's the Nether Grasp as well, as Bear's trying to get in front. Is going to defend from a lot of the damage. As Dancing Grenade not going to be able to find much. As, oh my goodness, there's the ult. Doesn't quite get it as Plugo limps away. Oh, I spoke too soon. And Deadly Flourish is exactly that.
Macau 7-0-7, absolutely dominating Summoner's Rift. 14 out of 16 kill participation. Thank you very much as an AD carry.
You're
now
welcome.
the Fox get out of there. This is a bad news story for KMV all of a sudden.
Yeah, it's gone from bad to worse, I believe, Spawn. It's INTZ break down that outer turret in the mid lane. Only inners remain here for KMV. But Yang actually finds his way through the backline. Another Deadly Flourish, and the Fox is going to fall as now Element takes a Hyper Proc as Yang is just doing so much work right now. He's got 3 items. They are going to be able to take down this inner turret, and Inhibitor turret is honestly in trouble.
Yeah, and as I said, you know, INTZ, they got, apart from the Malzahar, pretty much the dream draft on the current patch, and, you know, Tokas has held up well. So Yang really showing the potence of both in the mini and mega form. That's a couple of times that, unfortunately, the Fox has just been soloed out.
Yeah.
And hasn't been able to get going. And he is a star player for KMV. Generally in the past, if he doesn't roll, I mean, they lose games.
It did take him a little while to get going in their final. Of course, dropping the first 2, but picks up the Vayne, goes completely nuts against Icarus Gaming. But it's a different beast in INTZ here for the first match of the IWCQ. And already the Brazilian team looking pretty comfortable. 28 minutes.
You have to say this was a very composed performance from INTZ as well.
Yeah.
Of course, game not over yet, but, you know, they did have the option to fall behind early. They made the big play in bottom lane. It was well matched by KMV, but they just used opening up the map to such great advantage. And, you know, they even hid Tokas for long enough. And once again, he's 4-2-7, using that CC to great effect. And, you know, still only 30 CS behind him. Vladimir is one of those champions that if he gets ahead of you, has the potential to explode.
Yeah.
Julio Cito was giving a lot of attention to that lane, but it hasn't been the case.
Yeah, and of course, Plugo unable to really translate any of that lead
into anything.
Yeah, at all. And now Infernal Drake has been started here by INTZ to say thanks to KMV for taking down the cloud that was up earlier. 29 minutes in. Should be able to lock this one down unless Julio Cito has anything to say about it. Finds the spear. Of course, Revolta tanks it. There's got to be a Revolta spear tank count for the amount of spears that have been thrown from Julio Cito at team members of INTZ and which ones have been eaten by the Gragas. Because I think that number's big.
Baron a team member. A Dragon a team member.
Oh, yeah. That's a good point.
But I do take your point.
He's
tanked a lot.
He has. Seems selflessly tanked. It's like he does it on purpose.
Well, that one was definitely on purpose. Didn't want the steal to come out.
Yeah. Well, Element with his Deadman's Plate up here towards the top side. Has himself a QSS to get out of the Nether Grasp, which has also been picked up by the Fox. Delays his next item. Has a longsword sitting there. We'll see what that's going to build into. Could mean Mercurial Scimitar as item number 3. Is Deadly Flourish. Not going to find anyone. INTZ with control once again. Yang on the bottom side with teleport at the ready.
And really, there's just no good options right now because the hard engage is only the arrow. They're going to be eaten by Tahm-Kench. No one can match Yang. Mid lane inhibitor already down. And if you show too many areas else, you're just going to get collapsed on for Baron. So KMV, this is a difficult part of the game. Hard engage probably needs to be looked at. Instead, they back away. And now INTZ, they just can either bait out the Baron or just start it up.
Yeah, another pink ward in the pit. One out the front. Hawkshot's going to fly over, so KMV do know exactly where INTZ are. Only a couple of charges of that ability, though. They don't have any blue trinkets
that was
available.
A ghost, actually, out of Tokas. A little bit hesitant to pick it up. I mean, if you see a half-health Vladimir in the mid lane, probably an okay sign to start the Baron.
He's actually going to go back here as well. I think that might be the Void Staff completed as Yang and Element were fighting towards the bottom side. You can see bottom left of your screen. But INTZ just go back, push up the minion waves.
It is a Void Staff. That's a huge breakpoint coming through for Vlad. So all of a sudden, I mean, Plugo, we said that he needs to step up, be that main carry for his team. Now maybe has the capability of being able to do so.
At the moment, just on super minion duty.
I think you honestly have to kill Joxter, though. I'm just looking down the lineup. I don't think you can pop anyone quick enough if you land the arrow. Joxter's walking towards the front of the fight quite regularly. Maybe you just try and blow up the Tahm Kench, get a good trade off the back end of it.
Well, at the moment, Revolta, of course, pretty good at catching skill shots. We'll see whether it's going to be him that can get in front of Jockster. But the 4-1 certainly coming out, of course. It feels like these super creeps in the mid lane are playing as another team member of INTZ. Cito in full vision of INTZ is very far up. Plugo's going to come around the side. Does have the Ghost available as the fight has started. Jockster is going to be the option here for KMV, but the teleport in the perfect position from Yang and has the Mega Gnar. Can he get the ult off as Cito very, very low towards the back of this fight? Is going to be able to get behind the bear. There's Element looking to back, but look at the low health bars here in KMV. It's going to be difficult to hold on to this turret.
Yeah, turret's gone, but ultimately that was a pretty good hold. I mean, they lose 2 turrets for it, but the 4-1 wasn't successful in breaching any more of the base. They also repel what was potentially a big Baron play there, so I don't think you're all that mad if you're KMV.
Yeah, a lot of backs actually coming in here from INTZ as well. Leandri's Torment is done now for Tockers, so big 3-item spike.
Oh, don't get me wrong, INTZ still massive.
Oh,
Hugely
yeah.
in the driving seat. Should be able to close this one out. It is an 8,000 gold lead 33 minutes in. But the longer you repel like that, you know, not give up major objectives, the more opportunities there is for INTZ to make that mistake. Scuttlecrab goes on walkabouts.
Yep, it's cruising. Element will actually be able to get this wave towards the other side of the map. Will mean that INTZ do need to answer. At the moment, Tokka's a little bit far away with no summoner spells, of course. Can't ghost his way into any fights. As Bear looking to try and clear out some vision. Winter's Bite doesn't find anyone. Oh, KMV look to have a new lease on life here as they wander up the mid lane.
Yeah, they once again pushing out lanes, getting them in a fairly good position. They have the teleport advantage this time. They should be looking to utilize it. Force Yang into starting up a Baron or something like that to get him back into the area. Problem is they just can't get in for any deep vision.
Looks like this minion wave on the bottom side of the map is slow pushing in as well. That inner turret will be under fire as there's the body slam onto Bear. Deadly Flourish comes down as well as he has to throw down the ultimate. Flashes, stands behind Julio Cito as now Element going to come over to the side. There's the stun to Revolta, gets stunned up once again, but eaten by Jockster.
And one more time, I mean, that's Bear, Summoner Spell, and Ultimate Burn, but also Macau's, which is a huge initiation tool for INTZ. Revolta still has Flash Body Slam, but the longer they can continue to stall this out, I mean, that's a huge creep wave on the bottom lane, and they're going to have to peel away from Baron.
Yeah, once again, as Yang actually, Mega
Plugo
is just coming up. He's going to crush his way forward as there's the Zhonya's. Plugo dash cannon's out of the way, but Macau grabs the kill. He's legendary now at 8-0 and 8. And of course, Yang's able to lock down the Nidalee. Just better microplay here from INTZ.
Yeah, Nidalee was dead. I think that was a foregone conclusion as soon as the Mini-Gnar was onto her, but Plugo that time around ran down back towards the team as opposed to up. You know, didn't even get the ultimate out. Baron will fall down, so this game for KMV, I mean, we said that they've got a good opportunity to look for a mistake, but ultimately it's INTZ that capitalize on that, extend their lead.
Well, KMV looking to grab some Scuttlecrab vision. The Elder Drake is going to spawn exactly on 35 minutes.
That's a dead Nidalee. Yes, thank you, server.
Also a ward that Element could potentially teleport to, even though he was a couple of steps away. But Macau, he wants to push this Baroned up minion wave towards the open inhibitor. And let's have a look at this pick again.
Yeah, that's what I'm talking about. As soon as the Mini-Gnar was on Julio Cito, I mean, he goes negative to finish it up. But that was a dead Nidalee. Revolta has a dance, dodges that spear. But it was the Vlad ghosting towards the team that really confused me that time around. He didn't drop the Hemo Plague or anything.
Was that a bluff, you think?
It was a bad bluff. Got Nethergrasp upped and just blown off the face of the earth. I mean, Macau even flashed over a wall to pick him up, 8-0 and 8. So ultimately, KMV, they need to continue to stall. This game needs to go for another 10 minutes if they're going to look to pull this one back.
Well, Element does almost have his Guardian Angel. Got Infinity Edge on the way for the Fox. Only needs 1,400 gold. But look at that crit to the face from Macau. He's got 4 items on the Jhin. So much armor penetration. And look at this turret melt. INTZ will be able to take down this bottom inhibitor. And looks like KMV just don't have an answer at all. Spears are flying through. they're just not doing the damage necessary. And the Fox, if he had have taken that Deadly Flourish, I think he might have been dead.
I think you might be right there, Atlas. And, you know, they knocked down a second inhibitor as well. So ultimately this game looks like it's just going to become a stranglehold for INTZ. They back away. They're going back towards the top lane. You know, not wasting time on things like the Elder Dragon. They know they have priority on the map right now. They're using it. Yang is first to 18 by an absolute mile.
Yeah, somehow actually it's Tockers that's right behind him on the 17 mark, so he's got himself back up at least on experience. Void stuff almost done for him at the same time, with room for that pink ward. Now INTZ, I mean, they can play this as patiently as they like. Super Creeps are going to be knocking on the front door of KMV, but they have a massive creep wave here and lots of damage to take down this inhibitor turret.
One more time, the only wave clear they have is Vladimir putting himself in the creep wave. And we've seen time and time again that just gets him killed. And now they knock down the last remaining base turret. There it is.
Yeah, Arrow is going to come in. Parallel Convergence gets a nice double stun, but it's onto the two. Taking a massive 5-man ult from Yang. And Julio Cito is going to fall down. Double body slam comes in as well. INTZ just all over KMV right now. A beautiful team fight. And that is going to spell the first game of the IWCQ victory for the Brazilians.
Yeah, it certainly is. And Yang just made it look easy on this Nah. What a final play. I mean, congratulations to Brazil for picking up win number 1. I mean, Latin America, they actually went with them for a lot of that game.
Yeah.
But in the end, you gave over such a potent draft towards the later stages and came back to bite them.
Yeah, and the two big carries for this team, of course, Macau finishing 10-0 and 10. You've got an 8-0-8 Nah towards the top side of the map at the same time. Just a huge performance from this INTZ roster. Really, really brilliant for building that momentum moving forward.
Yeah, it certainly is. But, I mean, other IWC teams are going to look at that game and there's going to be hope for them. I mean, a miss execution on a 5-man dive bottom lane. They got the first structure bonus. They were able to pick up the 3 kills down there, but they lost 2 in response. I mean, that wasn't necessarily the best thing. So, you know, you can see them on your plane screen. Not on your plane. You can see them on the screen. They're shaking hands.
Yeah, some
KMV
hugs there as well.
Look pretty disappointed, honestly. They felt that they had a good grasp on that game towards the early stages, but, you know, credit to the Brazilians to pull it back, but it wasn't a flawless victory. There were definitely mistakes.
Yeah, and I mean, that lull in the mid-game is another example of that as well, not necessarily knowing what their composition was able to do at that particular point in time, and it's pretty dangerous, actually, to give up what could potentially be weaknesses this early on in the series when you've got a target on your back, honestly.
Yeah, certainly do. I mean, everyone wants to beat the Brazilians on their own soil, and they're going to be very hard to take down. I'm just going to go back to that. But the reliance on Yang to pretty much 1v1 his lane was what the mid-game was all about. And, you know, this was a miss execution on the first dive that we mentioned. Tockers gets chunked out. Does fall down because, you know, the Braum just solos him here, Bear. And then, you know, tanking up the turret here for Macau means that another kill does go across. As Element flashes in, he was going to die regardless, so good to get the trade. But that was a risky play, and it nearly bit them incredibly hard.
Yeah, and this is another moment. I think Julio Cito is going to get caught out of position and getting that last cheeky auto attack, and Nethergrasp can never be underestimated because he just couldn't do anything here.
Yeah, certainly couldn't. You see the AoE potential that comes out of a Malzahar. Honestly, if Yang hadn't have hopped forward there and just let Tockers pick up that kill, the Fox would be dead.
Yeah.
So, you know, once again, just the tiniest of little mistakes here, but KMV ultimately paid very deeply for sticking around and trying to get that turret. That was after a good pick on Revolta. So, you know, KMV, they showed something. They had a really nice pick comp. We kept going back to it. But ultimately, the micro ability to outplay and a couple of the late game decisions were just too good out of INTZ.
Yeah, and I think that a lot of it came down to sort of that micro play as well. They did just look mechanically stronger. However, I mean, a lot of the ideas coming out of KMV were actually fantastic. Utilizing that extra pressure that they had in the mid lane, they kept that up over and over again. Julio Cito, early vision to make sure that they could spot out where Gragas was, get his location. I mean, there were a lot of really good signs coming out of this Latin American team.
There was a pick that went on to Jin that, I mean, it was 150 health that he lived on and ran halfway across the map. There were so many times that there was just fingertips away from having a good thing. But, you know, ultimately Brazil was too good.
Well, it is going to be Brazil picking up game number 1. We are going to throw to a short break, but when we get back, even more IWCQ.